You can't be demanding. You can't be relentless. You can't put yourself first. So, put yourself first. You can't be confident, so be.
You can't be demanding, you can't be relentless, you can't put yourself first. So put yourself first, you can't be confident. So be confident. Did Nike just disrespect Caitlin Clark and their Super Bowl commercial? Fans are outraged and the internet is on fire. Clark, one of the most dominant stars in college basketball, was featured in Nike's highly anticipated ad, but instead of celebrating her, some fans feel she was undermined, sidelined, or disrespected. The reaction: absolute chaos on social media. Nike, a brand that prides itself on empowering athletes, might have just stepped on a landmine with this one. Now, we all know that commercials during the Super Bowl are very, very expensive, which means that it's not a lot of stuff that you see. Like if you're seeing an ad in the Super Bowl, you know that that brand is fully behind whoever is featured in that ad. And Nike just dropped a banger of a Super Bowl video that features Caitlin Clark, Drew Watkins, A'ja Wilson, and Sabrina Eskew, along with some others. Was this a marketing misstep, or is there more to the story? Stay tuned, because we're breaking down what happened, how fans reacted, and what this means for Caitlin Clark and Nike. After 27 years of being away from Super Bowl commercials, Nike is back, and they brought some of the biggest stars in women's basketball. For someone who has been breaking records left and right, leading viewership spikes, and bringing unprecedented attention to women's college basketball, this commercial should have been a moment of celebration for Clark and her fans. Instead, it felt like she was overshadowed, underrepresented, or simply an afterthought. And trust me, the internet was not having it. As soon as the commercial, fans took to Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, blasting Nike for disrespecting Clark in a way that felt deliberate. Some argued that Nike was trying to push a different narrative, one that didn't place Clark in the spotlight the way she deserved. Others felt that Clark was strategically sidelined to avoid making her the clear face of the campaign, despite being the biggest name in the ad. Now, if you haven't seen the commercial yet, let me break it down for you. The ad was meant to celebrate female athletes breaking barriers, and it featured some of the biggest names in women's sports, including A.A. Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu, Sha'Carri Richardson, and of course Caitlin Clark. Sounds like a great lineup, right? Well, not exactly. As soon as the commercial started, fans noticed that Clark wasn't getting the screen time she deserved. Instead, other athletes were being highlighted, while Clark's presence felt minimal, rushed, and almost forced for an athlete who has completely shifted the landscape of women's college basketball. This was a massive letdown. Think about it. Caitlin Clark had become the face of women's basketball in a way very few players have. Her games draw record-breaking viewership, her highlight reels go viral daily, and she has a larger fan base than most WNBA players combined. Yet in a commercial that should have been her crowning moment, she was reduced to a minor role while others were given the spotlight, and fans did not hold back their frustration. Social media was instantly flooded with reactions calling out Nike for disrespecting Clark, questioning their marketing strategy, and even accusing them of intentionally minimizing her presence. Comments like, "Nike, how do you have the biggest name in women's basketball and barely show her?" and "Caitlin Clark deserves better. She's literally changing the game, and Nike can't even give her proper screen time," started pouring in. Even bigger voices in the sports community jumped in, saying this wasn't just a mistake, it was a calculated move. Some analysts pointed out that Nike has a history of choosing who they push as their main athletes, and that Clark, despite being the most popular name in the game right now, didn't fit their preferred narrative. Now here's where things get even more interesting. Caitlin Clark herself seemed to acknowledge the controversy in a cryptic Instagram post where she shared a series of photos from the Nike campaign with a caption, "You will be told you can't do it, so do it anyway" at Nike. Now, was this Clark subtly calling out Nike for diminishing her presence in the ad, or was she just sticking to the theme of the campaign? Fans were divided, but one thing was clear: there was a lot of frustration surrounding the way this was handled. Nike, a company that prides itself on being a champion for athletes, found itself on the defensive. But honestly, can you blame the fans for being upset? Caitlin Clark isn't just another great player, she is revolutionizing women's basketball in real time. Just look at the numbers. Whenever Clark plays, viewership skyrockets, her games are drawing numbers that rival NBA ratings, and people who never paid attention to women's college basketball before are now fully invested because of her. The idea that Nike would downplay her role in such a massive ad campaign just doesn't sit right with a lot of people, and this isn't the first time Nike has found itself in hot water over its marketing decisions. Over the years, the brand has been criticized for how it selects and promotes athletes, sometimes focusing on specific narratives while ignoring clear fan favorites. Some people are now asking, was this just another case of Nike pushing its own agenda rather than listening to what the fans actually want? I go, Nike is turning to one of the things that they haven't Really, fully embrace not really, and that is the most electrifying women athletes in sports for their awesome comeback. And guys, it makes sense to go for women athletes at this moment because women's sports are having a moment right now before we dive deeper into Nike's history with these kinds of marketing decisions. Let's talk about why this commercial was such a big deal in the first place. The Super Bowl is the biggest advertising event of the year. Every brand wants to make a statement, and every athlete featured in the Super Bowl that is put in front of millions of viewers. This was Clark's moment, a chance for her to be properly introduced to the world as the next big thing. And instead, it felt like Nike gave her the back seat while others were pushed to the front. And this isn't just about scream time, it's about respect and recognition. Clark has earned her place at the top. She's not just a rising star, she's a cultural phenomenon. For Nike to treat her like just another player instead of the generational talent she is, that's where the real disrespect comes in now. Let's be real, guys, Nike has not exactly been crushing it lately. The sneaker giant has been taking some MS with declining sales and fierce competition from other brands like Hoka. You got Skechers. Like a lot of brands are either coming into the space new or are redeveloping what they are doing, and they are giving Nike a run for their money. The discussion has now turned into a much bigger issue: how brands like Nike treat women's sports. This controversy has reignited the long-standing debate about how female athletes are marketed and whether big brands truly see them as superstars or just marketing tools. Let's be real here. For years, women's basketball players have fought for recognition, and Caitlin Clark has done more for that fight than almost anyone in recent history. If someone like Clark, who is literally elevating the game, can be downplayed, then what does that say about how brands see women's sports as a whole? Fans are now demanding that Nike step up and correct this mistake. Some are calling for a solo Caitlin Clark commercial, one that properly highlights her achievements, impact, and dominance. Others are saying that Nike needs to start investing more in WNBA and college players rather than just using them for occasional campaigns while still giving men's sports the majority of their focus. And then there's the biggest question of all: could this backlash actually hurt Nike in the long run? Nike is one of the biggest sports brands in the world, but in today's era of social media-driven brand accountability, no company is untouchable. If this controversy continues to grow, Nike could find itself in a tough spot if fans start feeling like Nike doesn't truly support Caitlin Clark, or if Clark herself starts distancing herself from a brand. This could open the door for other sports brands to swoop in and offer her the kind of respect and marketing push she deserves. Imagine if Clark ditched Nike for Adidas or Under Armour. That could be a massive shift, not just for her career, but for how brands approach female athletes moving forward. So what happens next? Will Nike respond to the backlash? Will they give Clark the solo spotlight she deserves? Or will they try to ride this out and hope the controversy fades away? One thing's for sure, this conversation is far from over. Fans are watching closely, and the way Nike handles this situation could define their relationship with Caitlin Clark moving forward. And at the end of the day, this isn't just about one ad, it's about respect, recognition, and giving women's sports the spotlight it has earned. Nike has a choice to make: either correct their mistake and embrace Caitlin Clark as a generational talent she is, or risk losing the support of the very fans who have been pushing for change in the sport. And let's be real, Caitlin Clark isn't just another player, she's a future. As controversy surrounding Nike's Super Bowl commercial continues to explode, fans and analysts alike are digging deeper into what went wrong and why this wasn't just a simple oversight. The backlash has only grown stronger, with social media, sports analysts, and even former athletes questioning whether Nike intentionally downplayed Caitlin Clark's role in the commercial. Let's be real, this wasn't just any advertisement. This was the Super Bowl, the biggest stage for advertisers, where brands spend millions to make a statement. For an athlete like Caitlin Clark, who has single-handedly elevated women's basketball to a new level, this should have been a defining moment. Instead, it felt like a missed opportunity, and to some, an outright disrespectful decision by Nike. So what's next? How is Nike handling the situation? Will this hurt their relationship with Clark? And could this be a turning point for how brands market female athletes? Let's break it all down. So far, Nike has remained silent on the backlash. No official statements, no clarifications, no damage control, nothing. In a world where brands are expected to respond quickly to controversies, Nike's silence is only making fans angrier. Some believe that Nike is hoping this blows over, that the internet will move on to the next big controversy, and that Clark's fans will eventually forget about it. But that's not how things work anymore. Social media doesn't forget, and neither do sports fans, especially when it comes to an athlete they genuinely admire and support. Others argue that Nike's silence is intentional, a strategic move to avoid drawing even more attention to the issue. If they were to release a statement, it could backfire, bringing even more scrutiny to their marketing choices. But here's the thing, this isn't going away anytime soon. Caitlin Clark is not just another college athlete, she's a cultural phenomenon. She's someone whose name trends on Twitter every time she steps on the court. She's filling arenas, breaking records, and bringing millions of viewers to women's basketball by not addressing the controversy. Nike risks something far more dangerous than a few angry tweets. They risk losing trust. And in today's world where fans expect brands to stand behind their athletes' trust is everything, if Nike doesn't step up and clarify their stance, they are sending a message whether they intend to or not that even the biggest stars in women's sports can be pushed aside when it doesn't fit their preferred narrative. Let's talk about Caitlin Clark's long-term relationship with Nike. Right now, she's one of their biggest rising stars, and they clearly invested in her. The problem is fans don't feel like Nike is treating her as a priority, and that raises the big question: what if Clark decides to walk away? We've seen it before. Athletes switch brands all the time when they feel like they aren't getting the respect, marketing, or money they deserve. If Clark feels slighted by Nike, what's stopping her from signing with a brand that will give her the spotlight she has earned? Let's say Adidas under Rauer, or even Puma comes knocking with a better offer, more creative control, and a promise to make her the face of their brand. If Clark jumps ship, that's a massive loss for Nike, not just financially, but in brand reputation. Nike has built itself on athlete loyalty. Losing Clark, especially after controversy like this, would send a dangerous message to other rising stars. If they can't keep one of the most popular athletes in college basketball happy, why should any young female athlete trust them to promote their career properly? And let's not forget, Clark's fan base is loyal. If she walks away from Nike, her fans will likely follow. That means less Nike merch being sold, fewer people tuning into their campaigns, and a general sense of distrust toward how they handle female athletes. If Nike is smart, they'll do everything they can to fix this before it turns into a long-term problem. But if they let it slide, they could be looking at one of the biggest brand losses in